Look, it's already costing states like New York billions of dollars of taxpayer money to provide free housing, clothing, food, education, and health care to illegal immigrants. Then you have the situation where you have criminal aliens committing violent crimes, just as we saw a woman being burned alive on a subway by a man who was previously deported and then came back into the United States illegally.
All right, buckle up, because we've got a fiery debate on the burner today in the messy world of immigration policies. You know, illegal immigration isn't just a topic for the pundits. It's something that's hitting the street and choking up the state budgets.
One of the things I've heard him give a lot of interviews, and I know he understands the problem that they want to solve, but he doesn't seem to have a sense of the scope of what it's going to take, what it's going to cost. And that's a critical question.
Well, I actually had a meeting with Tom Homan the other day, along with a number of my colleagues, and we talked about this very issue. The fact is that what Tom Homan is going to do is start the process of deporting criminal aliens out of the United States. And sanctuary states and cities like New York need to cooperate. This idea that you're going to violate federal immigration law, that you're going to use taxpayer money to provide all of these free things. By the way, while Kathy Hochul in New York is charging New Yorkers $2,500 just for the privilege of driving to work in Midtown Manhattan. It's a joke. This is the stuff that needs to stop. So yes, there is a price tag. Yes, it's going to cost money. But the reality is we cannot continue to have this massive influx of illegal immigrants coming into the country. Since Joe Biden took office, over 10.5 million people. That's unsustainable, and it's costing us billions of dollars.
And guess what? Those behind-the-scenes Republican voices like Scott Jennings are getting loud, pointing their fingers right at CNN's Abby Phillip. Now, she's been spinning this narrative that's almost sounds like they're denying the financial tidal wave drowning states like New York. So, folks, if you're tired of hearing sugar-coated stories and want to dive into the real controversy, I need your help to hit my goal of 1,000 subscribers by February's end. So smash that subscribe button for more no-nonsense breakdowns. All right, let's dive deeper into this messy saga unraveling here. I mean, have you ever wondered how this whole immigration debate pulls so many strings and pushes so many buttons? It's like constantly on the forefront of our news. Now, it's not just enough to talk about it, right? Actions speak louder. And this is where Scott Jennings straightens his posture and calls out Abby Phillip and others like her who, let's face it, seem conveniently blind to the economic havoc illegal immigration triggers. So here's what's happening. Jennings is holding a spotlight to the fiscal sinkhole that illegal immigration creates. We're talking about billions, yes, billions of dollars bleeding out of the taxpayer's pocket. And what's maddening is that cities like New York feel the crunch the hardest, trying to juggle resources to cover for all the free services being handed out, whether it's housing, education, or healthcare, to those who've slipped in without going through the proper channels. Let me paint you a picture of the grating irony here. On one hand, we've got these states trying to wrangle their resources, squeezing every penny to keep their systems afloat. On the other hand, these critics like Abby Phillip dodge acknowledging the elephant in the room. The reality is protecting our borders isn't just a fanciful Republican rhetoric. It is a necessity that's being ignored at great cost. I mean, think about it. How many times have we seen reports circling around reminding us of the crimes pinned on illegal immigrants? You all might remember that harrowing incident, a woman attacked on the subway by someone who shouldn't have even been here, someone deported before and yet found his way back. It's chilling. How many more such stories need to unfold before acknowledging that there's a deeply embedded problem here? Now, let's turn to plans of action. Tom Homan, stepping into the scenario, resonates with many like-minded individuals pushing for a critical upheaval. They say enough is enough. Their idea? Mass deportations. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe some of you are even rolling your eyes, but bear with me here.
No price tag too big. That's how Donald Trump, who was elected Tuesday night on a wave of voter rage about the cost of things, describes his top policy priority, which is mass deportations of millions of undocumented immigrants currently in the United States. NBC News reports this, quote, President-elect Trump told NBC News on Thursday that one of his first priorities upon taking office in January would be to make the border, quote, strong and powerful. Sorry. Sometimes it is beautiful. He talks about it. When questioned about his campaign promise of mass deportations, Trump said his administration will have no choice but to carry them out. And when asked about the cost of this plan, he said, quote, it is not a question of a price tag. It is not really. We have no choice. When people have killed and murdered, when drug lords have destroyed countries, and now they're going to go back to those countries because they're not staying here, there is no price tag, end quote. But of course, there will be a price tag. And the price tag that communities all across the country are going to pay is potentially devastating to the economy. Trump is targeting 11 million undocumented immigrants. They live in every town, in every state, in every corner of the country, meaning that mass deportations will require an operation of a size and scale that may simply not even be feasible, let alone affordable.
From our perspective, this isn't about inhumanity. It's about setting a precedent. It's about making it clear that breaching borders won't be a walk in the park anymore. Really ask yourselves, do we want a state where cities turn into sanctuaries for those who've defied the law, or should we push for a strict enforcement of immigration policies? Beyond just actions, this debate pokes the economy sharply too. Mass deportations have been criticized for their potential financial burden, granted. But Jennings, Homan, and yes, even our bold Trump, reckon that leaving the situation unchecked brings higher costs. It's a choice between footing the bill for enforcement versus dealing with the ramifications of doing nothing, which, let's face it, is a fiscal black hole. So, what does this change mean for everyday life? Mass deportations are more than ticket entries in political diaries. It means upheaving communities and demanding sanctuary cities fall in line with federal laws. We're talking about realignments and facing the challenge of processing millions of undocumented residents. Now, naturally, some critics rally against the toll this could have on businesses reliant on immigrant workforces. Sure, reform might hit specific industries first, agriculture, hospitality, you name it. But perhaps it's time to think smarter rather than avoiding challenging discussions. Perhaps reform could ignite fresher paths towards supporting our own, focusing on American workers who've been sidetracked for far too long. And let's be real, inaction isn't free either. The longer we sit with our hands tied saying it's complicated, the larger this issue grows, gnawing at taxpayer reserves, stretching our infrastructures thin, and fostering a bubbling frustration among citizens. Trump, love him or loathe him, campaigned on a staunch promise to fix border security, shaping discussions on immigration reform in a way that grabs headlines. Trump's unapologetic approach doesn't shy from promising decisive measures like building strong walls, both literally and figuratively. But it's not all his vision. It's about rallying the voices who, until now, felt drowned out in a narrative that oftentimes they felt skews their concerns. So here we are, at a critical juncture. Are you on board with reinforcing policies that rationalize our immigration system to reduce crime and economic strain? Or do you view it as an infringement on humanitarian values? Well, let me know what stood out to you in today's discussion. Comment with your thoughts below. Was it the economic angle, or maybe it was the play on sanctuary cities that hooked your attention? Can't wait to dive into your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going.